Hey guys, welcome to this week's Money and Investing Show. We are looking this week at the subject of Christmas. Yes, we all know it's just about to come around the corner to us, but how to make the most out of it. Sometimes it's important to disconnect to reconnect, and this year has been a challenging one, so that ability to come up for air, review what you've been doing, take some time out, enjoy it, smell the roses, but get focused for the new year is what it's all about. It's going to be some good tips and tricks in there. We'll see you in the show. Hey there guys, welcome to this week's Money and Investing Show with me, your host Andrew Baxter, and as always my faithful, festive and very well decked out offsider, Mr. Mitchell Laurential.
Thank you, Mr. B. Thanks for having me on the show. I've learnt a thing or two on fashion here in this office, and to continue that jolly theme, there's one topic that we need to cover as we head into the Christmas break, and that is what the hell to do over Christmas. Time off, do you recharge? Do you not fall into a trap? There's plenty to cover. How do you trade over that time? A few questions here for you.
Plenty going on. I'm very grateful for the fact that we're not sitting under any mistletoe. I don't want you leaning in for a kiss. Just be careful, behave yourself. Okay, so yeah, indeed, it's Christmas. It's a fun time. Here we are, Monday the 21st. We've got a couple of days to the big day. We had options expiry last week, so we're kind of done with the December trading. That's the year to all intents and purposes, and hopefully our positions are rolled out over into the new year to give our traders a chance to come up for air. And coming up for air actually is something that's very, very important. You know, there are pitfalls to that as well, and each of us have got our own journey to go on, and we'll probably explore some of those. But I'm a huge believer, sometimes you've got to disconnect to reconnect.
Sure.
And having a bit of time out of the market, just to, particularly given the year we've had, I mean, let's face it, it's just been bonkers.
It's been stressful. Things have been up, down, sideways, going around in circles. Crazy time.
I've been in this space for a very long time, and I don't remember a year like this ever. It's just been so many extremes and major events.
It was only last month the ASX didn't even trade on a market data glitch.
Yeah. Look, I mean, as we did last week, that year in the rearview mirror is a good way to look at it, and there are so many highlights you can look at. So stepping away from that and come up for air and is a really important thing, because mentally you've got to present your A-grade, A-game mindset if you want to be successful, and the only way to have an A-game mindset is to have that time to refresh and recharge. So what to do? You've got a bit of time off now, use it wisely, get away from markets and just create that space for a little bit of time and decompress. If you're someone that's been especially active, if you're someone that's pretty passive, well, there's no real reason to get away from the market. But for those people that are certainly, like us, looking day in, day out, tick by tick, it can be pretty draining. So that time away from the market is good. Get away from your social as well. Put a Merry Christmas to everyone and turn the thing off for a week.
Great advice.
Anyone you want. Hopefully, I don't know about you, my family are around the world, so it's going to be a difficult one this year. My dad's in the UK in lockdown, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have got family members either overseas or even in their own country that can't travel and spend time with them. But largely, you should be with the people you want to be with, so you can afford to disconnect from those people that nice picture of some cute puppies you've put up on Facebook. Get away from that. Have a bit of time with your family or the people that are there. That's for sure.
Okay, so I guess that begs the question, AB, if the goal is to recharge in that Christmas period, but not be in front of markets, not be on social media, what are you actually doing? What kind of exercises is classified as a recharge? Is that a personal thing, or is there kind of some advice?
Look, it certainly is. I mean, for some people, a recharge might be sitting in on a floaty toy in their pool, drinking a case of VB, and if that's your thing, good luck to you and do what you've got to do. All of us are different. We find different things to do. Some people immerse themselves in exercise and use that as their decompression. I'll probably be having to step that up. The new gym in the new house, I've got no excuse over the Christmas holidays, of course. And that might be your thing. It might be that you take some time to reflect on the year. It might be that you're already planning for the next year. You might be sitting and watching the Boxing Day test, which is exactly what I intend to do.
Sure.
And I'm trying to very slowly indoctrinate my son. So we've got a little safety in numbers. We're watching the cricket. We are watching the cricket.
He'll be opening a VB in a couple of years' time now, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think he'll be opening a VB in a couple of years' time. Never know. He might have a cheeky. If he's anything like me, he'll be having a cheeky sip now.
Great advice.
Yeah. So that might be your thing, but the bottom line is, if you've time off work and time off working in markets and in that personal development space, just having a pause is a good thing.
Sure.
We've had relentless commitments this year, which we've met, and I'm very, very proud of that. And we'll talk no doubt about that in the new year when we get into Deja Vu and episode 1, series 2 of what we're doing. But you do have to come up and have a bit of a, that was quite something, and recognise your achievements for the year. That's a massive one, and we'll talk specifically about doing that, I think, in next week's podcast.
Great.
Recognise what you've done, but do what you need to do. Have a bit of a break. Have a break.
Okay, with that, you can take the break too far. You can drink too many VBs, you can overtrain, you could not do anything, you can stay in bed all day and watch too much Netflix. What are some of the pitfalls that we typically find occur over that Christmas period?
Yeah, look, I'm inclined to agree with you there. If you run hard, you can't go all on and all off. You've got to have that sort of taper down. So for you, Christmas morning, I guess, might just be 1,000 push-ups instead of the normal training session,
Roughly,
just to keep it there.
Great place to start.
Good place to start. The reality is, think about a computer. If you've turned your computer off, not if you've got a Mac because it lights up pretty quickly, but if you're someone that's using a PC, you turn the thing off. And then when you go and turn it back on again, it takes some time, and heaven forbid, there's a Norton upgrade and 2 other things, system upgrades, and before you know it, it's 5 or 6 minutes before the thing is live and in front of you. The alternate to that is to sort of go into standby mode, where you're kind of still turned on, but you're just not actively doing that much.
Almost
stuff.
like a hibernation type thing.
Yeah. And that's probably what I'd advocate. Go do what you got to do, enjoy it, have a splurge, do whatever, but just sort of keep the wheels slightly turning, because when you grind to a halt, it's very, very difficult to restart. You have no momentum and you can kind of bog in. And this is especially important over the festive season, because, okay, we've got Christmas and we're going to have a great time. So you've got that Christmas, and then you've got the week in between. You're going to be watching the cricket with me and Jack, and then you've got the New Year.
You forget what day it is at times.
And then the New Year sort of bleeds into the first week of the New Year. And then, okay, well, we don't really need to start anything yet because we've got Australia Day to look forward to at the end of the month. And in reality, if you're not careful, your year can start in February. And look, that may be your thing, but you've lost 8% of the year by doing that. And you're not going to hit 100% of your goals if you've only got 92% of the year to work with.
Wow, that's really interesting when you put that into perspective. January is 8%. It's crazy.
Yeah, probably touch more than that if you round it up. But yeah, I mean, that's the sort of thing that can very, very easily happen. So yeah, if you've got a book, I'm a voracious book reader, and I'm trying to push that onto you as a
2 books this year.
Two books this year. That's great. I think I'm on my 2nd this month. But that's okay. It's a good place to start. 2 is better than none. If you're a reader, what I like to try and do, I read a lot of personal development books. I love learning. I also, like, every now and then, I like to read what I call a leisure book, which might be a novel or a biography. Is typically what I read in there. So put to the side the hard stuff. Have a read of something that's a little bit more easily digestible, and have that leisure reading, and then pick up the personal development stuff. Have a break, just have a recharge.
Take a break, but that's something that a lot of people struggle with. A lot of people, I'm one of those people.
Likewise, I'm not going to be able to help myself.
Exactly right. You can't help but check your computer, or help just go to the gym that extra session, or whatever it may be. Where does it come a point where you got to tell yourself, okay, Mitch or Andrew, stop it, take a step back?
I think the dynamic tends to shift over the year. Like as most people that follow us know, my wife, prior to kids, was a partner in a family law firm. She's a divorce lawyer. And so many divorces or separations happen over Christmas because you've got that proximity full time with people that you may not be used to.
Sure.
So, we go through the year, and if you're out at work and you come home in the evening or at weekends, all of a sudden you've got this protracted period of time when you're around people. And my suggestion would actually be try and be present with the people that you're with. You get that rare gift in time of being able to be all day, every day with someone, which, if you've got family members staying with you that you're not so keen on, that may be something of a torturous experience, but nonetheless, be present and see it for what it is, as opposed to being sort of half present looking at this, half present being with them, and just enjoy that sort of zone out.
Really good advice. And what I want to specifically touch on, AB, because it's our gig, is with the stock market, if you're an options trader, if you're fairly active like us, very, very hard to just switch off and not trade anymore, or not manage your positions, or not close out, or keep involved. What is your suggestion overall, specifically to trading the markets? Is there a routine involved, something like that?
Yeah, look, personally speaking, I'll probably have a look every day for about 30 seconds, I would hope, because the positions I've got laid on are around the index, and I'll try and move those positions so they mature outside of the holiday season. A, because of liquidity in the holiday season. The markets are thinly traded because everyone is on holiday. And then secondly, trying to take that into the new year, sort of 15th or beyond, in terms of, so letting those trades run for about a month rather than a couple of weeks. And that way it sort of removes the need for any day-to-day management that's on there. And that way your money's still working. Don't put your money to sleep and say, I'm cashing out for Christmas. Get some protection in play, but get your period, the time frame for your trade rolling out so it's well into the start of the new year. That's probably a good way of keeping exposure, but keeping it in a way that's not time involved.
Gotcha. So it's just to kind of just altering your strategy a touch. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. Mr. Gibbs, the market ninja that we have in our office on our team here,
Yep.
he tells me that in his experience trading markets for 30 years, that Christmas time is one of the best times to be trading. Things are moving around. It's a little bit weird what's kind of going on, a bit spooky.
Yeah.
How have you traded the Christmas period before? Have you ever made some good money out of it?
Look, I have. I typically take a block of time off, so I've been very fortunate. I guess one of the serendipities of owning a broking business is that I can get somebody else to do it for me. And that's typically how I've approached it, but I have had some good trading through that time. I think markets are a little bit more thinly traded, so when there's a move, it can be quite dramatic, hopefully to the positive side.
Sure.
But typically for me, it's a 5-week time off. That's normally my and that's exactly what I'll be doing this year.
Nice. Well, 5 weeks, that's a nice break.
Yeah, it's good to spend some time with the kids, obviously a bit of work on the farm and get some fresh air and a bit of tan and be ready to come up firing. Actually, that's not strictly true because I've got can't leave it alone, can we?
No.
One of the things that we've got, I guess we'll talk about this a bit later in the podcast, but I've actually got a bespoke training session I'm doing at the start of the year, so we'll talk about that probably in a bit.
No, well, let's touch on that now because we've kind of covered, what to do over Christmas, what not to do, and then how to trade markets. This is a really important time, I think. Say personally, I use Christmas whilst I've got more time to train more to get fitter for footy season next year. Now, if you're more inclined to say that it could be a great time for personal development.
Yep.
What are you doing in this space to help out others out there do the same?
Look, we've got a 2-stream process that we're setting up, and one of the things over the years that I've always found, you asked me, about trades over Christmas and making money. Some of the biggest money I've made in business have been through ideas that I've come up with over Christmas, where you spend that clear deck time to really review where the pieces are on the puzzle, on the chessboard, if you will, and shape up your game plan for the new year.
Wouldn't be too hard in that new office of yours at your house.
It's quite nice in there.
It is.
It's quite
nice scotch on the left, maybe a cigar or something like that.
Yeah, I've got the desk. It's an interesting one. I've got a desk in there which I've just had made, and we haven't flown this year. I think I've done 8 flights this year, and I must be missing flying because I've actually had a desk made out of a wing on an aircraft. So it's
it looks cool.
Yeah, look, and so I sit at that, and it's very tactile, and think, well, at least I'm looking at this view rather than the window out the window of the plane. And it's not a bad view down there at Byron, looking at the beach and all that. But parking all that to the side for a moment, that ability to have the decks cleared to plan out what the year ahead looks like. We're going to do this in stages. Next week's podcast, and look, we talk about clocking off. This is 20-25 minutes, and use this as a life support system, if you will. And I know that sounds a little bit dramatic, but check in with this. Check in every Monday because we're not stopping. We made a commitment at the start of the year for 52 weeks straight, which we haven't and won't miss, and next year will be the same. But what we've got planned for next week and then leading into the new year is a terrific way for people to get some air in the tyres and get out of that standby mode and start ramping back up again. So review of the year, some goal setting and action steps in the year. So what we're going to be running very, very specifically at the start of the year, I'm going to be doing 2 streams. One with existing clients that we have to help them dive, I suppose, into some of the nuances of success that we've seen from our clients. We've just done Trader of the Year nominations, and that's been a real revelation to see where people are at. I've got one client down in Canberra this month alone, made enough money to buy 2 new Teslas to add to the one he already bought this year, just in 1 month of profit. So there's a certain DNA. There's a certain DNA of what's going on there. So with our clients that are in our ecosystem, working with them on the DNA of that kind of success and plugging it into what they're doing over about 3 or 4 steps. We're just finalising, and that's just being finalised as we speak. So that's something that I really hope that people opt in for, and I guess we can put a button in here to help with that. So I hope people get involved with that, because trying to do stuff on your own is quite tricky. It's no different to training at the gym. You turn up on your own, it's just you. If you train up with somebody else, you've got somebody else to hold you accountable and get that momentum in, and so on and so forth. And so, play golf on your own, play with a partner, you're going to have a better game with somebody else.
Gotcha.
And so, working as a group, my intention, and we'll do it live, is to get people really fired up and set with a very, very clear intention and game plan, plus some new strategy development for most people in there as well. So that's for existing clients. For someone that's not in our ecosystem right now, we've got a slightly different channel, and that is a more generic personal development, how to set goals for success. And I'm going to share some of the experiences I've had, and by no means I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet, but by most people's benchmark, I've been pretty successful, and I think there are clues that go within there.
Success leave clues.
It does leave clues, and there is a process behind it. And so being able to point out some of the really big milestones and flags or waypoints to keep you on track, so that if you're not in our ecosystem, you can still be lined up for the best year you've had yet. And 2020 has been we'll leave the profanity out, but it's not been the best year for a lot of people.
Sure.
We've had a killer year. We know that's been it's been a brilliant year on every metric that we look at. But we want to help other people get that same experience. So a little bit more work with those guys on a slightly different track to help get them set up is where I'm going to be focusing my time at the start of the year. And for me, that's my give back. And I know that sounds really fluffy. I love my family. I love spending time with my family, and we've got a great environment in which to do that. And I'll sometimes find myself torn with a mission to empower people. And we're on a very, very strong pathway as far as that goes in the money space and personal growth space. And then the other side of my life, which is as a family man. And so interrupting my 5-week slab of Christmas break with my family to do this is something that is a real tricky thing for me to grapple with, because I don't want to do anything work-wise, but I don't see that as being work. It's part of what our mission is. So Take that on face value. It's not some fluffy crap that's being said to make you feel warm and fuzzy about us. It's genuinely sincere as to how I see the game plan. I'll be carving time out of mine, holiday time and family time, to make sure that those people, either that are clients or that want to get into our ecosystem or see what we do, have got a coach, a guide, and a mentor to really help them set themselves up for the new year. So that's what we'll be doing as we get into the back end of the year and the holiday time.
It's really exciting, and we'll pop a link, I'm guessing, at the bottom of this broadcast.
There'll be plenty. You won't escape it. There'll be plenty of stuff around there. I think we've got a competition running on Insta and a few other things. It'll be across all our social anyway, but make sure you get involved with that, because there's going to be something in there I trust is the thing that just gives you the jab that you need to move forward, because we are in challenging times, not just economically. We're in the money space, Mitch. We help people make money. We've helped a lot of people make a lot of money this year. But it's not just about that. We're in a very, very difficult time for a lot of people that experienced economic hardship. Maybe they've lost their job, but also for people that have been in lockdown. If we think about our friends, family, colleagues, etc., all down there in Victoria, which have been in lockdown for such a prolonged period of time, it's been a very isolated year. And it's one that, unfortunately, the ramifications of which we've seen a spike in suicides. I believe back end, or what we've just done a fundraiser in that space.
Sure.
Last year was the Fit for Fireys. We raised money for the Royal Fire Service. This year, just because of mental health and the volume of suicides out there, we've put our shoulder to the wheel to do something there. And having a level of purpose and optimism, a more optimistic future than the bleakness of the past, is very, very important for people, especially if you've had a hard year. And seeing 2021 economically, I think it's going to be a very, very difficult year for a lot of people, but it could be a great year for them personally in terms of their growth and how they deal with that, ultimately both financially, but also in terms of feeling better about life and being optimistic about the future rather than being weighed down with the misery that 2020 really brought as far as news flow is concerned. So again, that's part of the reason for that mission in that space. And again, this is money and investing. We're hard-nosed traders. It's about money. But sometimes you've got to come up for air, and that time over Christmas is a perfect time to do that. We're away from markets, and we're probably even more sensitive to what's going on. We're not going overseas skiing or whatever it might be, or seeing family members for Christmas, and there are going to be families, including mine actually, that will be split because of the different states that they're in. And this is a time to sort of galvanize people together and say, hey, collectively we can do something pretty cool. So I really hope people come along and take advantage of that. I'm putting my time into it. It's the most valuable thing we have. You can make plenty more money. It could be $1 million, you make another $1 million in a heartbeat, but you don't get that time back, especially when it's with your kids and your family. So I'm fully committed to doing that. And there's the challenge to anybody out there. If you're actually serious, get some skin in the game, roll the sleeves up, and be as committed as I am.
Well, there you go. That's great advice. Interesting insight. You're absolutely right. It's a gift to have that time to be able to work on yourself and then give to others, of course. So great advice, AB. We are coming to the end of the broadcast. That's kind of concludes over Christmas what to do, what not to do, and how to get better. What are your final words?
Merry Christmas. Rip into that
Happy
case of
New
beer
Year.
or whatever it might be. Have some great champagne. Enjoy. We hope we brought you some good cheer through this. Remember, the year's not done. We've got another podcast next week to see the year out. But thanks for following us this year, and enjoy the festive time. Make the most out of it. It only comes along once a year, so grab it with both hands.
Let's go and have a beer, shall we?
Sounds like a plan. Let's go. There you go, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and more importantly, hit the notification button so that you can keep across all of the great material we're putting out this year.